Beards, Books, and Bourbon is a spoiler-rich environment. If you haven't read or listened to this book, then you should probably go ahead and do that, because we're going to talk about it, and we're going to say all the stuff that you don't want us to say. So go back and read it, or listen to it on audiobook, and then come back and listen to us. Thanks so much, and enjoy the show.
To Beards, Books, and Bourbon. We're glad to have with you once again. I am Steven.
And I'm Mark.
And we are here on a very cold winter's evening in Chicago, but our guest this evening is in a much warmer location. So we're gonna complain about our 17-degree weather while he answers questions in his 60-plus degree weather.
That's right.
And we'll go from there.
Yeah, it'll
right?
be fine.
So we'll deal with it. It's supposed to get warmer as we get closer to Christmas, so we should be okay.
Yeah, isn't that nice? We'll have a green Christmas instead of a white Christmas.
That's right. Which seems to be happening more often nowadays than
more of a brown Christmas, right? Actually.
We are very excited to welcome the CEO and founder of Filmland Spirits.
Yes.
Troy Bolotnick, to our studios. Thanks for being here tonight, Troy.
And
my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Just for for the listeners out there who have been following the show, you will know over the past year and a half or so, that we went a little crazy with Filmland Spirits. I was at a Binny's down in the Vernon Hills area here in Illinois, and I had actually gone there to buy something else very specifically. And I walked in the store and was looking around, and I found the bottle that I was going to get. I won't mention it tonight, but it was about an $85, $89 bottle, something like that.
Yeah.
And then I looked directly down, and I saw the Moonlight Mayhem bottle, and I thought, what is that? And sitting right next to it was The Town at the End of Tomorrow.
Yes.
And I went, what is that? And I put the $85 bottle back, and I picked up these two, and I look at the price tag on each, and I turn to one of the people working there, and I go, what are these? And they go, it's new. No one's tried it yet. Tell us what you think of it. So I bought them, brought them back here. Stephen and I tried them. We featured them on two different shows.
Yeah.
And then I went back to the Binny's in Vernon Hills, and I said, you guys need to put that on the top shelf or on an end cap, something like that. It needs to be featured. This is an amazing product for the price point that it's at. You need to market the hell out of this because it will sell.
And here we are.
And
we'll send you the link for those shows.
And thank you. I don't even need to say anything because you guys just keep saying nice things about us, and I'm good.
Well, and I know we're being effusive, but it's something that, we started this in the middle of the pandemic as kind of a hobby for us. And it got us through the COVID times together. We're both avid readers, both enjoy bourbon, and it's just turned into something that's a passion product. But we're going to stop talking for a moment. Why don't you take a minute, just kind of introduce yourself, Troy, and thanks again for being here with us tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So as you said, my name is Troy Bolotnick. I'm the founder and CEO of Filmland Spirits. We've been at this now, at least on the market, for a little over 3 years. I started working on the company many years ago in a form we wouldn't recognize. And then 5 years ago, I can't believe it's already 5 years. 5 years ago, I started working on it in earnest.
Okay.
And so it was like COVID also, September of 2020
Yes.
is when I said, I had this opportunity. Like for years, I've been saying I'm going to do a bourbon brand. And Charlie, one of my partners, and I were always saying we're going to do a brand. And then I just had this moment in time where I was between gigs and I said, if I don't do it now, I'm a big fat liar. And so I decided I'm going to do it. And I just,
Well, and that was part of the story. That kind of leads us really nicely into kind of that first question. So we kind of read a little bit up on the website on the history, and the story is that you and your friend Charlie, you said was his name, realized that you were able to create your own brand. What was that like? What tipped you into that, and where did you finally come to realize that, hey, bourbon is something we can do? We have a good friend in the neighborhood that kicked off his own business brewing beer, right? But bourbon is a different beast, right? Bourbon is a different flavor, a whole different business. What led you there, and what made it feel real for you that you could actually go into this now?
Yeah. So Charlie and I have been friends for 30 years. And at some point, he moved from LA, where I live, to Atlanta. And then we both kind of separately started getting into bourbon. And one day we realized we were both interested in it. So then we started getting in it together. And we started meeting at the mothership in Kentucky, like I like to say, and just going around to distilleries like crazy people, like, 5, 6 distilleries in a day, which you can't do anymore because you need appointments and reservations now.
Right.
But back then you could just show up and end up in a long conversation with the master distiller in the back room where he's, bringing out his like prized little secret experiment and letting you try it. And we had great experiences like that. And we fell in love with all of it. The people, of course, the bourbon, but the people and the science of it and the art and the craft and the cocktails. And we just fell in love with it. And we just started saying one day we should do our own. And this is not my first business. I've started and sold, I think, 5 businesses, or sold or merged or whatever it was over the years in different industries. So from that perspective, I'm dumb enough to keep starting my own businesses. And I just, if I just decide, hey, I want to do this, so I can do it. And that's what really happened. And I started another friend of mine who lives out here in Los Angeles. He helped me get this off the ground, right? And so we did a lot of research and brainstorming together, and we just started looking. I knew that I wanted the labels to be bright and eye catching, and I knew I wanted it to be bourbon, and that's all I had, right? And then so we just sat and we banged our heads against the wall for months. Because every time we were like, I think this is it. I think we've got the concept. Either someone had the trademark or the website, or we're like, we have this brilliant idea. And then I go dig deep in research and find out somebody's already doing it, right? That kind of thing.
Right.
And then one day, he's a podcast host also. It's not his full-time thing, but he just happened to also be a podcast host. So he started interviewing me as if we were on his podcast. And I start talking, he stops me and he says, Troy, the passion you're talking about writing with is the same passion you talk about bourbon, in the movies, and find a way to do them together. And so Filmland came very quickly out of that conversation.
After that.
And then,
That's awesome.
And that's an incredible story. And the ideas behind that, and we'll talk about the labels in a minute, but this has to be probably some of my favorite visuals attached to bourbon.
Oh, the artwork is great.
And my brother, my late brother was into film, was studying film in Los Angeles, lived in West Hollywood, all that kind of stuff. And this is just, for me, it's kind of just stirs up memories of my time with my brother, and what a clever, amazing, colorful, well, like Mark said, I mean, you're there for one bourbon,
right?
And quickly, this has become something that we just really deeply enjoy, both for the art and the taste that we're going to taste in a moment.
Oh my gosh, so good,
right?
So
Which
good.
is fantastic.
Yeah, and I think the first bottle that I bought, like that first one that I grabbed, was not the regular Moonlight Mayhem. It was the cask strength one.
Yeah.
And even then, with the cask strength, I'm looking at the price point. I'm going, I could get another one. I'll get this one too. And I pick up, the Town at the End of Tomorrow. And then those two sent me back to the store. So I ended up picking up Ryes of the Robots.
Yep.
And then I was researching the distillery on your website, and then I saw that you were selling Quadraforce online. So I went ahead and I bought that online. I just couldn't get enough.
And then thank you for sending us the The white, which one is that?
The White Port Wolf.
Right. So where is the distillery?
you're
Tell us a
welcome.
little bit about your location. Tell us a little bit. Once you launched this, what happened? What was next?
Sure. And you guys, Mark, kind of, you almost, it's like you read my business plan, right? Because the business plan was, look, the labels are fun and they're exciting and they're going to get that first purchase.
Oh, yeah.
But this is about the liquid, and the liquid inside the bottle has to be something we're all proud to put our names on and excited to put our names on. And that's what's going to get the repeat purchase or the purchase for the next bottle or whatever it is, the next line. And so thank you. That's very validating.
Absolutely. And in a minute here, when I actually introduce the primary bottle officially, because there's a thing, again, there's a shtick that I do. We'll talk a lot more about the label itself, because I love the way, not just the artwork on the very front, but the entire design overall,
of
the
bottle.
concept of the bottle itself in conjunction with the label is just, I just love it. I love it.
Thank you.
So the distillery, where did you, how did you pull that together? What did you need? Where did you get it? What is it? What's the process called? Yeah.
So to clarify, we are a non-distilling producer, so we don't have a distillery. Yep. We have a bottling facility that we work with a partner in Frankfort, Kentucky. Okay. No, it's not Buffalo. But we do all our aging, blending, and bottling in Kentucky, but we source barrels from all over. So our core products are Indiana, they're MGP, right? And then our limited releases, it just depends what's going on. Town at the End of Tomorrow was a Kentucky straight 9-year-old bourbon. Quadraforce we'll talk about, right? It is sourced from 4 different states, things like that. So we do all of our production process there in Kentucky, even though the company is based here in Los Angeles. But I had spent a lot of time in Kentucky already, but still, once we decided to get into the business, it was a pretty long journey to find, where can we bottle and how does this work and who do we got to talk to and how are we going to make this work? Should we bring our barrels to California? Should they go to Kentucky? All of those decisions got made. Thousands of decisions over the course of the first 2 years while we were building the business.
Wow. Yeah, that was actually one of the points that I brought up in the email that I sent to Laura. Was I was curious about how, I'd seen the fact that you've got the headquarters out in California, and then all your production is happening in Kentucky. My question was, how do you stay in front of finding the particular blends of flavors that you're looking for what will become your next product? Is there do you find the flavors first and then wrap something around it, or do you come up with a concept and then try to match that with something, with a barrel that you can purchase and blend?
Right. So first we invented teleportation so I could get it to Kentucky quickly.
Yeah, quickly. Perfect. Excellent.
Good.
And I'm in Kentucky 6 to 8 times a year at least.
Yeah.
Sometimes for sales and business meetings, and sometimes for blending and tasting and things like that. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of multi parts to your question, but I always say the liquid is the story and the story is the liquid, right? So what I mean by that is sometimes we find a liquid and go, this is amazing, let's figure out a story for it. And sometimes we have a story and we say, let's go find a liquid that fits this.
Okay.
Right. And so it happens both ways. I mean, we have a huge, binder of stories, more than we'll ever get to, at least in my lifetime. Right. So tons and tons of concepts. That being said, we tend to come up with new ones anyway that aren't even in the book yet. But at the same time, we'll just, at this point, we know so many people. We've got amazing people, legends in the industry, and all kinds of great people have been so supportive of us and love our product. And I get these phone calls or these emails from people. I'm like, I would have been a complete fanboy of that person 5 or 10 years ago.
Right,
I can't believe they're emailing me. This is awesome.
Because they're your person. You're right, exactly. Yeah, right.
Yeah. And so somebody will call me up and be like, hey, we have this, these barrels at this or whatever. And then they'll send me samples. And then the blending, by the way, is myself, my partner, Charlie Flint, who I mentioned, and our other partner and co-founder, Steve Canepa. So the three of us are the blending team. We taste everything we taste, we all taste. We try and taste all of our barrels at least annually. We're getting too many, so it's a little longer. It's stretching out than annually. But whenever we blend, it's the three of us as a team doing it together.
That's great.
That is a fantastic part of the story that we did not know. Yeah,
no, not at all.
That adds on to it. Yeah, and so with that creative process, like the storytelling, you just mentioned the binder of stories, right? And are these stories you're collecting from friends and family and the industries and the world and different places? Do you go to different places for stories? Do you wait for the stories to come? And you indicated that you created them yourself. Where does that creative process fit into the identity of what you're creating at Filmland?
Right. So to clarify, that part of the way this got going is Charlie and I, a million years ago, were screenwriters.
Okay.
And so we combined our passion for bourbon and movies, right? And that's, why it's Filmland Spirits. Yeah. And so we do create an original script for every one of our products. Wow. And we decided they were going to be B movies. And the reason we decided B movies is because flashing back to the story I told earlier about sitting with my other friend, is again, I spent a lot of time in the bourbon aisle all over the place. And I kept always saying to myself, why are the labels all brown and beige and black and pictures of dog or bird or old man on the label? Why can't bourbon, fun, exciting, immersive, colorful labels and still have ultra premium award-winning quality liquid inside? And that was the true basis for the company. So we create an original B-movie script. The more outrageous and over the top the story, the better. We always say when it comes to the story, we don't take ourselves seriously. When it comes to the liquid, we take the liquid very seriously.
Very seriously.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we just want to, like you guys, we're friends. We just want to have fun, make each other laugh, make our customers laugh and entertain them, right? While they're sitting there sipping this amazing bourbon.
Well, that bears it out in the liquid. And to your point about friends, I mean, that's exactly what got us going. I mean, we really wanted to do something that we felt we like to say our sub-tag line is, what we're reading, what we're drinking, and why it brings us joy.
Yep.
And that kind of flowed into, and this year we're going into season 6, and so we finally decided to kind of up our game a little bit. This is the first year where we are talking to blenders and distillers and companies, right? We haven't done that.
And authors.
We've done authors before, but you're our third interview so far, and it's a neat new kind of frontier for us as content creators, and something that we really, really enjoy doing.
We got started.
That's awesome.
We got started during the pandemic. Stephen and I were already friends. We were kind of in a pod together, and
with our families.
And so every other week I would come to his place here in the garage, and we would talk about whatever book we're reading and enjoy a bourbon, or he'd come over to my backyard and do the same thing. And after doing that for a few months, one of us finally said, what we should do? We should record ourselves and see if we're as funny as we think we are the next day.
People will take us, yeah. But you got to jump in and do it. Do you want to introduce the bourbon?
Yeah, let's
go. Let's introduce the one that will sit, because that's our primary taste for the evening.
So you're either going to cringe like you've never cringed before, or you're going to really enjoy this, because speaking of B movies, I've been told that I have a face for radio and a voice that goes along with it.
Yeah.
So tonight's bourbon is Filmland Spirits presents Moonlight Mayhem 2. The White Port Wolf is true love finished, straight bourbon whiskey finished in white port casks, aged at least 7 years, 47% alcohol by volume, 94 proof. And then with all our Filmland Spirits bottles, on one side of it, we have the following. Filmland Spirits. We are a crew of whiskey enthusiasts, movie buffs, and storytellers, bringing people together through captivating tales and great tasting spirits. We invite you to experience our stories you can drink. White port finish, sweet and fresh with citrus and licorice on the nose, vanilla and cardamom on the tongue, and an earthy finish with grassy undertones and a wash of roasted hazelnut. Enjoyed neat or on the rocks, this precisely finished blend will capture even the fiercest among us. And then there is a faux MPAA rating here. This is great. I love it. That's the mash bill. 75% corn, 21% rye, char number 4, 4% malted barley, It's got the names of all the creators here. So it's got Troy, it's got Charlie, it's got Kristen, it's got Steve, it's got Mary Lou. The all-seeing eye thing that I see in multiple places on the bottle is something that I want to ask about. But on the other side of the label is our cast list, just like you would see in the movies. This is fantastic. Moonlight Mayhem 2, the White Port Wolf, fleeing their laden. Tommy and Sylvain seek serenity in a disused Napa vineyard with Slate and the pack hot on their heels. They inadvertently cross paths with the White Port Wolf, leaving Tommy wounded and wine country in chaos. Will our heroes befriend this new threat to aid in their escape, or will they side with Slate against the terror of terroir? There's that word again.
Terroir, yeah.
Terroir again. The White Port Wolf, the myth, Beauty and the Beast. This packless lone wolf will do anything to protect her solitude and her territory, which our heroes unknowingly invade. And Steven's holding his glass.
Got the glass. We're ready to go. Are you tasting with us this evening, Troy?
I didn't prepare a bottle. My apologies.
All right, no worries.
No worries.
But I've tasted it a couple of times.
I'm sure you have.
I would imagine.
Right. Mark, first of all, I did not cringe. Actually, had we known each other a few years ago, I probably would have hired you to voice the trailer for Quadraforce. We make a trailer for every one of our products.
Do you really?
Movies.
I did not know that.
I did not know that, yeah.
We needed an old-timey 1940s newsreel kind of voice, and we ended up finding somebody.
That's me.
Yeah, but you would have been perfect for that.
Inflate his ego for me tonight while we're at
it. That's right.
We'll drink the bourbon and we'll bring it back down.
He loves it when I'm feeling good about myself.
We'll send it back to his wife with that.
Yes.
So cheers to you. Thank you for being with us tonight. We're going to take our sip in our new glasses. Yes.
Yeah, so this is Moonlight Mayhem, the White Port Wolf, or Moonlight Mayhem 2, the White Port Wolf. This is a couple of firsts for us. It's our first finished whiskey, and as you mentioned it, what we did is we have Moonlight Mayhem, one of our core products and our originals.
Yeah.
Right, that is a 94 proof bourbon that won a double gold medal at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. Right, one of the most prestigious blind tasting competitions in the world. So what we did is we took that double gold medal winner, we aged it for 7 years, and then we put it in White Port wine casks that we got from Napa Valley.
Yeah.
And then released that as the White Port. So it's our first finished release, and it's our first sequel. And then about a month and a half ago, that won a double gold at the TAG Global Spirits Awards.
So when we first tried Moonlight Mayhem, immediately upon the first sip, we both looked at each other and we said, "This is one of the best bourbons we have ever had. This is fantastic."
I would agree.
It's very, very much so near the top of the list.
I would agree, and we were talking about this the other night, Troy. We like you. We love bourbon. We enjoyed bourbon together as friends. Before we started this podcast, but in the 5 years, now 6 that we've been doing this, I mean, our collection up here has grown to the point where we've tasted well over 200 bourbons, over the years, if not more.
We have bottom shelf, we have top shelf.
Yeah.
We have not ventured too much into the stratosphere where now we're paying like $250, $300 per bottle.
Not yet.
No, we usually tap out right around $100.
But the taste of this, was just such a welcomed enjoyment for us.
Oh, absolutely.
Your bottles are both in our top 5, just as personal bourbon drinkers.
Yeah, I mean,
and we really enjoyed that it's become part of our. So when we got the word that you were able to be on the show, we were fanboying you.
We were losing my mind,
like pride, because we've just enjoyed it so much. And this is, we've tried this now for the past 2 years before we even, met you here tonight, right? So this is all like, in our own studio when we're going through books and we're tasting and we're the episodes are going out to our listeners and all this kind of stuff. And it's just enjoyable to have that story now with you, with something that we've come to really, really enjoy just as as friends.
Well,
you know.
And something that I found interesting about this bourbon that we're trying tonight, the White Port Wolf, is that, I mean, other than it being lovely, is that I go out to the liquor stores about once a week, every 2 weeks, something like that, and I just look around to see what else is coming out, what's new, what's on the shelf. I ask the people who are working there what's moving, what's not, and what I had noticed maybe about 6 or 7 months ago was that there were a number of different labels that had white port finished products where they're starting to go on sale. They're like 10% off, 25% off. There was one that was 50% off. And when I started asking what was going on, the people who were working there were telling me that the people who were buying these white cask finished bourbons were expecting it to taste differently because they were used to the ruby or the tawny port being the cask and not a white port, and it's a different flavor. Right. And so I was a little worried at the time, like, oh gosh, when I heard that this was going to be a white port edition, is this gonna work out for them? But it's fantastic. It is so good.
Thank you.
I mean,
you think you were worried?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Yeah, I imagine.
I mean, I get that pear flavor. I get that white grape flavor. I get that sweetness a little bit in there.
That cardamom.
I get the cardamom.
That pops
deeply. So when you blended this, what was the thinking process?
So we knew we wanted to do our first finished release.
Yeah.
So we were searching, Charlie's my co-creative. He's also runs operations. And I just said, find us some barrels. And so for months and months, he was searching for barrels and talking to barrel brokers and, on the secondary barrel market and things like that. And we looked at ruby and tawny and rum and all these things. And we said, let's do something a little different, right? Yeah. We haven't done a finished release before. We're either going to make it great or we're going to screw it up. So let's just do something different. And then somebody presented us with white port barrels from Napa Valley. And we're like, hey, this could be Moonlight Mayhem 2. And we fled from Hollywood up north. And suddenly we can tie it all together.
That's so great.
This is good. So then what I did is I went out and I found the wine that had been aged in those barrels.
Oh, okay.
And it was like, it didn't exist anymore, but I was able to find one bottle of it and I tasted that. Yeah. And I was like, this is really good. This is worth trying. And then, so we just took a big roll of the dice, took a lot of money worth of great bourbon and put it into those barrels and then crossed our fingers. Right. So what the story I tell people is we taste it pretty often, but not being with the barrels, we can't taste it every day or every couple of days.
Right.
So I think we tasted it like in earnest, thinking, is it ready, at about 3 months? And it was amazing. It was so good. I was like raving, and I finished my sample bottles. I never finished my sample bottles because I have way too much bourbon. And I finished my sample bottles. And then we said, well, if it's this good after 3 months, let's leave it. So we tasted again at 6 months, and it was not as good.
Really?
And it wasn't great, actually.
That's
and I was like, what did we do? Oh my God. Right. So at that point, we're not going to take it out. At that point, in for a penny, in for a pound, we're like, let it sit. So we got to like 8.5, almost 9 months. And it was the moment where we're either putting this in a bottle or we're doing something different, because this is our release for this time of year that we've planned for. And we created a label and we're ready to go. Yeah. And so we tasted it and it was the best it has been. It not only came back around, but exceeded by far what it tastes like at 3 months.
So 3 months, then kind of down in the 6 month period, and then on the 8.5-ish month.
Yes,
that's amazing.
That's some interesting chemistry going on there.
So you mentioned a minute ago, and that actually segues into really. So you mentioned a minute ago, you said we're putting it in these barrels. We're either going to come up with something amazing or we're going to screw up. Where have you screwed up? What is something that you consider that is something that you that you tossed out or whatever? What is that vulnerable space that you as an artistic creator, both in your writing, obviously as a screenwriter, and now in your bourbon creation? What do you think
keep in mind, this is probably not going to drop until March. So between now and then, if you decide that you don't want us to air this part, just drop us an email and we'll cut it out.
No, you know, my face that I made was from is where haven't I screwed up? Right. That's what running your own business.
Too. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what running your business is about. And look, a year or two ago when we were on podcasts, or even almost 3 years ago, and we were very new, all the screw ups from the 2 years of development were very fresh in my head. Right. But I think I've banished those right now. And you know, there's business screw ups. We make certain arrangements with certain people, and it turns out to be not what we hoped it was going to be, and things like that. I'm trying to think. I mean, I'm a very much like I'm a what have I done for me lately kind of person. And I second guess everything, even when it works.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And so we spent a lot of money on the label and bottle development. And I always ask myself, well, it worked, but did we have to spend that much money?
Okay, right? Sure.
Because we worked like the tops in the business to help us design the format of the label.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's I can't say that that's a screw up because it worked. Right. I really will have to think about which one I want to share.
Well, I think you sharing the vulnerability just of a business leader. As a business leader, you shared just kind of the ins and outs of anything you try, anything you release, whether it's the label, the bottle, the liquid, the business partnerships, whatever. That's an answer that is, it's a vulnerable answer.
Well,
it gives you a chance to tell that story.
And especially when you think about the idea that you have to age all of this stuff,
right?
Even the finishing, right? That you're putting that into a cask and you're spending the next almost 9 months finishing it. You know, nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody knows what the market is going to demand.
Right.
You know, when it comes around time that you can make that product available. And so it is a little bit of reading the room, but it's also a lot rolling the dice. I think that something that I was thinking about when you were talking was, I think one of the ways in which that you are succeeding with new flavors is this side of the bottle right here, where it tells you what the notes are going to be, right? And you know, everybody's palate is subjective, but when you're telling a story like you do with bourbon and whiskey and rye, you know, listing out the tasting notes that you think it's going to have, I don't think is a bad thing. And the fact that you put here that it's got an earthy finish with grassy undertones and a wash of roasted hazelnuts, where I'm tasting more of the port, it really is on that back end. And I'm getting that grassiness, and I'm getting a little bit of the hazelnut, and it leaves such a clean finish. And I'm expecting it also. You know, I'm searching for what I can find, but I'm also have a certain amount of expectation of what I'm going to taste. And I think that prepares the consumer for, okay, this is going to be a little different than what I've had before. This isn't a ruby port. This isn't a tawny port. But wow, that grassy finish, actually, that's almost like a palate cleanser all on its own. Now I can either have more of it or I can move on to something else, and it isn't going to contaminate my palate. And that's a huge thing, right? And I think that by sharing those tasting notes with the consumer, you are lending more validity to the product without them even realizing it.
Right. And you know, one of the things we realized, or we assumed, I should say, early on, was that we were going to attract some new people to bourbon. That there were going to be people who were attracted to the stories and the labels who weren't bourbon drinkers when we were like, I got to have that bottle. We wanted to make sure we had, like, on the one hand, a product for those people. So that's how Moonlight Mayhem was designed. It was designed to have enough complexity for seasoned bourbon drinkers, which has worked really well, but also be a very approachable, sort of traditional, sweet, on the sweeter side of bourbon, to make sure that those people who are new don't go running out the door.
Right.
The cask strength we made for people like us, right?
Yes.
Who love to drink, intense, really, really flavorful liquid. So we decided as part of that, let's put the tasting notes on the label for exactly that reason. And then 99% of the time I tell people just ignore them. I'm much more interested in what our consumers taste than what I taste.
Yeah.
Right. And so whenever I'm doing a tasting of any kind, I'm like, don't look at the tasting notes, because if you look at the tasting notes, that's what you're going to taste. Right. I just want to hear what you naturally get. And, when you're teaching people how to drink bourbon and to taste it, there's always that confusion. Like, if I say to them, it tastes like vanilla cream cookies, they're like, I don't taste cookies. I'm like, you have to understand, I'm not saying it literally tastes like vanilla cream cookies.
Right.
That's what it evokes. That's that feeling, the smell, and it takes you back in time to when you ate those as a kid or something. That's what a tasting note is to me.
It's a memory almost.
Well, yes. I think that's what we have learned. Liking bourbon before we started exploring bourbons in our show was great. We enjoyed bourbon together. We both have 3 children. We both have large families. We get together often. All this kind of stuff.
But we didn't know anything about tasting notes.
We tasted. We enjoyed it. But then, as we explored it, as we learned, as we became students of the bourbon rather than just drinkers of the bourbon, right?
I think I'm more of a professor of the bourbon at this point.
Maybe so.
That's what my liver says. My liver says I'm a professor.
I'm a professor. Yeah. That's right. But we became more complex in just discerning what brought us the joy. And like you said, it's not that you're going to taste an Oreo cookie inside the bourbon itself. It's what memory is evoked by the tasting. And can you there's several bourbons that we have that have we did a TikTok post a couple of weeks ago about some of the bourbons that we would consider winter bourbons, like perfect for this season, right? And it's not that they taste like I shoved a Christmas wreath in my mouth. It's more of a, is this evoking?
Some do, by the way.
And they might.
Some do.
Is this evoking a moment where I'm envisioning myself on a crisp winter day, and maybe it's something that I remember as a kid when I was walking through a forest or something like that.
Yes.
And that's a beautiful thing.
It's Christmas by the fireplace with my family when I was 4 years old with another family, and
here we are.
And the other dad smoked a pipe. And it's the combination of the fireplace, the pipe, and the fruitcake, right?
Can we talk about the bottle? Can we talk about the bottle a little bit?
But before we do, I thought of one of the millions of mistakes that I've made. So I'll share.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure. Yes. Sure.
Because when Mark was speaking, it reminded me of it, because the whole, what I always say is one side of the label is all about the story, right? It's got the QR code you can scan. You can go to the website and watch trailers and interact with storyboards and read the script pages and download the poster. The other side is all about the award-winning liquid, right? You read the who we are, who Filmland is.
Yes.
The tasting notes, and then all, mash bill all the way down to the char of the barrel, right? In which it was aged. So we said, I think we tried to be too transparent and too clever, because the original credit block that has the mash bill and everything, we said we are going to have a batch name that's different for every batch. We're going to have a batch number that's different for every batch. And we are going to list how many bottles. So this is bottle 1 of 2000 in this batch, or whatever it is.
Right.
And you notice we do not have handwriting on our label. Everything is printed to make it look like credits and movies, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
If you really start to think about it, that is the biggest production nightmare on the planet.
Right.
Even the tasting notes.
Yes.
Even the tasting notes, because think about white port. We put it in there for 9 months. I didn't know 100% what it's going to taste like until we took it out. Right. So how do I write the tasting notes and print the labels in time? Well, the answer is I don't. I have to wait to print the labels, and then I have to submit it to the government for approval. It's a production nightmare, right? So, but that's where we got to. So one of the mistakes was trying to be so transparent and so clever that we put all this stuff on there. We backed ourselves into a production corner that was hell. And the other thing I did wrong was I'm a very do-it-yourself kind of person. So I figured out how barcodes work, and I put barcodes on the labels and everything like that. And then only learned that there's actually a standard from GS1, which is technical, whatever. If you want to be on the shelf in supermarkets and Total Wine and Specs and all those places, you have to have a GS1 compliant barcode. And I didn't do that.
So even they.
And so.
So you're like,
threw out a lot of labels.
Yeah. But I mean.
So I'm telling you, that's 1 in 1,000 that I've made.
Well, so, going back to what you said about all the money that you spent on the design of the bottle, was it worth it? The answer is yes. It was absolutely worth it.
I think so. I mean, we've got the film reels, we've got the Filmland down the kind of the vertical length of the bottle, which is reminiscent of the movie marquee.
It reminds me of a marquee. It reminds me of like the golden age of cinema.
Mark and I are partial to the corks. We do spend maybe a nerdy amount of time talking about the corks, and some of the bottles we have here, are just the standard twist corks or whatever. Old Elk has a lovely wooden.
It's a big wooden knob, right?
Oh, I know it. Yeah,
which is great. But this is fantastic. It's the film label.
Yes,
or the film reel.
The film reel. Yeah. Yes, that's so cool.
It's so cool.
Yeah, the cork is a combination between a film can and a film reel.
Yes.
It's sort of depending on whether you're looking at it from the top or the side.
Yes, the film. That's right. And I we're geeking out about the corks, but I mean, we really just kind of like the chicken cock bourbon has the embedded now shot glass on the kind of the jigger on top of some of their bottles.
Right.
Just and this is just so beautiful and so clever.
Thank you.
And then we've talked about the art, of course.
Right.
But even kind of the golding of the label on top here around the neck of the bottle.
Yes.
It
Well, and I also I think that you really have, just through the shape and the design of the bottle, it's still 750 milliliters, right? But you put it next to other bottles, and it just seems larger than life.
Sure does.
It is pure Hollywood in that regard.
Sure does.
And I just thought that was so clever, the way that you were able to do that. That was so cool.
So the whole concept of the bottle was, and our logo, the Filmland Spirits logo, is we knew we were going to be doing crazy stuff on the label itself, and that was going to scare some people, right? And we said, let's make the bottle and our logo and everything very, very sort of elegant and high end, so that and think about it this way. Think about like I'm sure you had to have a bunch of these still in Chicago. We do in LA, the old, Art Deco movie theaters, right?
Oh, absolutely.
The amazing prosceniums, right? So I think about it like that. Our bottle is that Art Deco proscenium that is surrounding whatever the star is, which is the movie. That could be a comedy, that could be a drama, it could be a silly movie, but you're going to get a quality movie at this theater because of that beautiful, Art Deco proscenium. Yeah. And that's what we intended it to be, is the proscenium. And the star for us, of course, is the liquid and the label.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that might be part of the reason why I geek out so much about it, is because in Chicago architecture to this day, you if you go into the downtown area, particularly into the financial district, you are just drowning in Art Deco architecture. Sure. It's everywhere, and so that particular style has been kind of like my identity growing up, because I've been exposed to it so much. And so seeing that bottle for the very first time very much resonated with me.
Oh, yeah.
That's great. And all of our packaging, I always brag about our liquid winning medals, because that is the most important thing.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
Our packaging and our design has all won gold medals as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the bottles behind you. I love the posters that are behind you.
Yes.
We clearly need to, we've got 4 of the bottles in our collection. Right. We've got to have, what should be our next try? We've got the Ryes, we've got the end of the Dawn at the End of Tomorrow, and Quadraforce. Do we bring out the Quadraforce?
We can bring out the Quadraforce, sure. Do you have a suggestion?
Yeah, I would bring out Quadraforce.
Okay.
Let's do it.
I think that's a good...
and the bottles behind you, are there some behind you that we don't have?
You don't have?
Yes. That we should get when it comes out. Yes.
So we've got 4 core products, right? We've got Moonlight Mayhem 94 proof, Moonlight Mayhem extended cut. That extended cut's our term for cast strength. Right? Okay. And then Rise of the Robots 94 proof, and Rise of the Robots extended cut cast strength.
Okay.
We've had extended cut Moonlight Mayhem. We have not had the extended cut of
Rise
any of the
others. No, we have not. No, we have not.
Pass me the glass.
Yes.
Yeah. So Moonlight Mayhem won the double gold. The other 3 all won gold at San Francisco. Moonlight Mayhem extended cut gets crazy high scores everywhere, and amazing reviews from people like Peggy No Stevens and American.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh, that's fantastic. This it's exciting for you, Troy. Yeah, that's exciting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then I also I also love that you had 4 different labels for Quadraforce.
Yeah. So I was going to say we also do limited releases, 1 or 2 times a year. Our first limited release you've got there, Town at the End of Tomorrow, which does not exist anymore. We made very little of it, and it sold out very quickly. And to this day, we have people asking where they can get it, and I'm like, it may be on a shelf somewhere. About a year ago, I heard somebody say they found one in a liquor barn in Kentucky. I was like, good for you. I hope you bought it, because I only have a couple bottles left of it. But then last September, not this recent one, but last September, our limited release we put out was Quadraforce. And Quadraforce, I like to arrogantly say, is the most unique bourbon you'll ever have, and you'll never get to have it again, because we made it by combining 4 bourbons originally distilled in 4 different states. And the result is a 4-grain wheated bourbon. And then we took that singular liquid and we put it into bottles with 4 different labels. And each label features one of the 4 Quadraforce heroes. And each one of the heroes represents one of the 4 states of distillation. So Kentuckiana, Cali Comet, Tennessee Terra, and then Mr. Misteron for that 4th mystery state of distillation.
Wow.
And so it's a very unique bourbon. At the San Francisco World Spirits Competition, it won a gold medal this past spring, which was very exciting. And then this past summer, Wine Enthusiast gave it a score of 95, which is very, very high for a whiskey.
Wow.
Like, to give you an idea, 2 years earlier, they gave Town at the End of Tomorrow a 93, and we were having a party because that was such a high score. And then
and a 95. Congratulations.
95, thank you. Like losing our minds over it. So we wanted to really lean into the idea, and the name for Quadraforce existed in the original business plan. It was one of my early ideas. I said, I'm going to make a blend of 4 bourbons. I didn't know it was going to be 4 states at the time. And I'm going to make it a superhero, and each one of the bourbon, each one of the states is going to be represented somehow with each hero. And I knew I wanted to do that. I was just waiting for an opportunity.
Wow.
So do you have a favorite amongst your bottles? I mean, do you have one that has stood out? Obviously, your whole business.
You love all your children, and we know it.
But is there one that has been something that has been just kind of a feather in your cap kind of result?
Look, like I mentioned earlier, I'm a what have I done for me lately kind of person. And so it's usually the newest thing becomes my favorite, especially when people like it and embrace it. So I am loving our limited releases right now, Moonlight Mayhem 2, the White Port Wolf, and Quadraforce, because they keep winning medals and they're just so fun and different and exciting. And the label, Ryes of the Robots, was originally my favorite label. And maybe it still is. I vacillate, right? Yeah. But White Port Wolf is definitely my favorite label right now, because, and I'll tell you, not only because I love the color scheme, and I love the way it came out, and it's just beautiful. But the way we make the labels, by the way, is usually I'll come up with a product concept or a story or whatever. I'll throw some ideas by Charlie, and then I'll go off and get into Photoshop, and I will mock up like 30 versions of it. And I will, just using found elements. Now I use a little bit of AI to help me, I want the building over here, so make me a building, and throw it together. And then I bring those many, many versions to the team, and we rip them apart from, creative and marketing and sales and every different color. Does that look like a bourbon you want to drink? That kind of thing. Yeah. And eventually we'll keep whittling it down until we get to the final mock-up. I'll go back and I'll edit them all, and we just keep going. And when we get to one that we're like, that's it, this is the label, then I will bring in an artist to recreate the whole thing, to redraw it, repaint it, everything from scratch. Now with White Port, we work with a new artist. And the thing I love about this, his name's Anton Kimball. He's based in Portland, I believe, Oregon. Mm-hmm. And he was making movie posters in the 80s and 90s.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
Right. So he's an older gentleman, gifted and brilliant and so sweet. And we had him do this. But so every one of our other labels were done by artists who paint on a computer. They're using some kind of tablet or whatever it is, and they're painting and drawing on a computer. Anton painted that on canvas. He painted every aspect of it on canvas. The woman and the background and the trees and the moon and the car and the extra characters and everything. Yes. And then only when we approved it did he have it. It never touched a computer until he had to go send it out to be optically scanned in so that we could use the files on our
as
label.
a label. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Where is that?
And so, and I have the original. I'm pointing in the other room, but in the other room, I have the original painting.
Oh gosh, that's fabulous.
That's amazing. That is fabulous. Yep. Yep.
Well, and you said too. Our introduction to Filmland Spirits was serendipitous, right? I mean, it was a moment in a store that Mark had.
Yes.
And it is something that we truly and genuinely and authentically have brought into our lives as bourbon drinkers and as podcasters and just as friends. And it's really a unique story you have there. What's something about, and we're going to recognize your time here because we are a little bit over an hour now. What's something about Filmland that most people, what's something about Filmland that you might think that most people don't know
and should know,
but they should know?
Oh, don't know and should know. I guess, well, I don't know about most people. There are people, you always hear, you get some haters sometimes when people say, oh, if you spent that much money on the label, the liquid must be junk, right? It's got to be covering something up, right?
Sure.
And I always think that and my first question to those people, because I'll take every comment. I want everything, good, bad, indifferent. I want to hear what everybody thinks. But usually my first comment to somebody who writes that in or whatever is I say, have you tried it?
Yeah.
And most of the time the answer is no. Why would I try it? And I go, well, no pun for your podcast, but you're judging a book by its cover. Right?
we might make that.
And so, I say, try it, and I offer them a discount. I say, here's $15 off, buy a bottle. Let me know what you think. And if you still think we put all our money into the label after you try it, but one of my partners, Steve, always says, right? Like you can, because some people look down their nose at medals, right? And we win a lot of them. And I say to people, look, there are competitions where you just entering gets you a medal. Where we enter, we don't waste our money on those. Where we enter, you can't do that. And I've met a lot of the judges because they're also journalists, and I've gotten interviewed by them. And I ask them when we're off the record, like, how hard is it to win a gold medal? And it is very hard. And they're like, I'm like, double gold, and they're like, it is so, because you have to have like 6 or 7 judges all give it a gold to get a double gold, and they all have to agree that it's gold medal worthy. And now here's the thing: we didn't win a gold medal for one of our products or 2 of our products. Every single thing we put on the market wins gold or double gold at these prestigious competitions and gets huge scores in American whiskey and Whiskey Addict. We're doing something right, Either we're getting really, really lucky, or we're doing something right, or a little bit of both. But we Charlie, Steve, and I each have very different palates. And the combination of our palates, which is what ends up in the bottle, seems to generate something that is very well,
really good.
Yeah.
So, right. So we spend a lot of money on the labels because it's a complete immersive experience, and we want you to have that adult cereal box that you can sit down and sip your whiskey and read the label and enjoy it. And if you want more, there's an endless amount of content on our social medias, Instagram, and TikTok and Facebook at Filmland Spirits, and on our website, which has also won awards for design and things like that. And we want you to be able to immerse yourself in it, and we want it to be about more than the liquid. We want, if you're a fan of sci-fi, if you're a fan of time travel, if you're a fan of Westerns, whatever it is, we want you to have something to connect with, because like we talked about before, flavor profiles are sometimes based in memory, but you're also creating that new memory now, tasting this, and it's going to be tied to that feeling you have about that story to some degree. And so to us, it's all about the liquid, but the story enhances it and brings more to it. And so if you think we spent a lot on the labels, wait till you taste the liquid, because that's where all the money really
we're very glad to share that message too, because you have 2 fans here, and not just because you're on our show or whatever, but this was something that really became important to us over the past couple of years, and really cool.
Well, so last year, I think it was last year, I was invited to a bourbon tasting, and at the tasting they had 3 different bottles, and one was a kind of one of the grand old labels, and it was like $700 for just that one bottle. And then they had another one that's a very well established label that was that I know goes for retail about $100 a bottle. And then they had another one that was about $79-$80 a bottle, something like that. And that first one was supposed to be kind of like the table offering, right? The everyday offering, and then we kind of worked our way up to the big one. And at the time, I remember thinking as I was sipping on the $700 one, it was caramel, vanilla, and smoke. And it was exquisite caramel, vanilla, and smoke. But I remember thinking at the time, but you know what? I like Moonlight Mayhem better.
Oh yeah,
because it's more interesting. Oh yeah, because it's got more going on. There's more complexity to it. And this one, if you want to spend that money on it, then and you love how far down the rabbit hole you can go with the purity of caramel, vanilla, and smoke, then that's definitely the one for you. But there are bourbons and ryes out there that are just delicious, and they are much more accessible to people than some of these other ones that have been around since 17 something, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And there was, I forget which one, but one of the very popular bourbon review sites did a review. I think it was on Town at the End of Tomorrow a couple of years ago. And they compared it to some very big names in bourbons that were 7 to 12 years old. And we came out on top. Right.
Oh,
gosh. And that is just, that was like, I love that quote. I can't remember it now, but for a while, it's all I would tell people. Right. But yeah, I mean, it's very gratifying. I mean, it's gratifying to hear how much you guys like it and how naturally, without us like promoting it to you or anything like that, it became, part of your staple. And I really appreciate that. And I obviously love hearing that. Right. It's very energizing.
Yeah. We like you said, we found it on our own, and we just.
And it was great.
We fall in love. Every single bottle that we've had, it's just a delight, and
we will continue to do so. And hopefully, maybe we can even come out to LA and visit one of these days. That would be fabulous.
You know what would be better? I mean, yes, you got the weather.
Or go
out
to
here
Kentucky.
For sure. Right. It is. By the way, it is a little cold here today. I think it dipped into the high 60s.
Oh, but good for you.
Yeah. But come to Kentucky. That's come to the bottom.
Yeah, come to Kentucky. We'll come to Kentucky. Well, we did do a so my oldest daughter has special needs, a rare syndrome, and we did a fundraiser bottle that was blended by Bespoken Spirits in Kentucky, and they blended our we did a Mark and I did. They sent us samples, blind samples,
four or five different blind samples.
We tasted it. We kind of scored it. We chose the blend. We had the blend bottled by them. They bottled it with the logo of our foundation for my daughter on there, and it was just a brilliant experience for us as podcasters and dads and just for my daughter. I mean, it sold 200 bottles for our foundation and was just a great way to do that. And coming to Kentucky is we've both been to Kentucky multiple times, of course, naturally, but not in the context of what we're doing here with the show. And we'd love to reach out to you at another time. And, if you're down there or if you're ever in Chicago for whatever reason, it would be fabulous to meet up for dinner or for a show or whatever.
Yeah.
Please let us know.
Dinner or show? We talking about a date?
Show here.
And we can we'll actually have some time to talk books at that point.
Yes,
that would be
great.
We can even talk beards because it's been many years, but I did my time.
Yeah. Mine was a COVID thing. Well, I've had it before, but a COVID thing, and then it stayed. So
I've had mine for 30 years.
It's
never going away.
No.
Every now and then I shave the whole thing off for my wife as an anniversary present or something like that. But it always
comes back so that we can have our flag show the right people behind us.
That's
right.
Exactly.
That's right.
Although my beard is the wrong color.
That's all right. So we're going to definitely respect the time here. So usually at this point in the podcast, we ask for final thoughts. And we do that with the book. If we're reading a book, we're doing final thoughts on the book. But we definitely do the.
I did have one question.
Yeah, you go first.
Yeah, sure.
We were talking about B sci-fi movies or B horror movies.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I loved the Evil Dead movies when I was a
yeah.
kid, when I was younger,
Yes.
the original ones. I loved
Yes.
those just
Yep.
over and over and over, you know. So there was, of course, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. My
Oh
friends
my
and I would
gosh,
watch and
yes.
just lose our minds, right? And
Yes.
then and the Evil Dead movies were definitely up there as well.
That's great. That's great.
That's fantastic. That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah. I love all those old movies, you know, from the 80s, from the 70s, from the 60s.
Oh, heck
I was just talking to him.
Anything Vincent Price? Oh,
Yeah,
God.
anything Vincent Price, right? I was talking to him today, and I said, "Have you ever seen Planet of the Vampires?" And he goes, "No." I think, "Oh, we have to watch that one.
Doing that one.
It's so beautifully terrible. It's amazing."
Right. And I like B movies that are right. That I like the ones that are beautifully terrible also, but like I wouldn't put Evil Dead in that category. I would put
No,
you know, right? And like Barbarella. That movie is so seditious. I just love that movie and the way it's shot and the costuming and everything. It's just and Jane Fonda was so not herself in that it was awesome.
I know she's so naive in that movie. It's so great. My favorite scene in that whole movie is when she's walking through the room and there's the giant hookah with a guy swimming in it, and there's a woman with a hookah pipe, and she looks at her and she goes, "So
that one,
what are you smoking?" And the woman goes, "Essence of man." Like that's I'm going to the grave with that one.
Right.
That'll be the last thing that I remember after the Alzheimer's hits me, right?
Yeah, that's right.
How are you feeling today, Mr. Harms? Essence of man.
So final thoughts, and we're going to give you the honor of final thoughts to start off with, and then Mark and I will give our final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I mean, I sort of said it already, which is I'm very grateful for your guys' reaction to our products and the way you really appreciate the labels and the liquid. And really, I'm grateful and humbled and excited by all of the amazing reactions that we get and people out there dressing up as our characters and posting pictures of themselves on their social media, right? And people doing all kinds of artistic things with our bottles. So many people take our bottles and they've made shrines to the bottles in their comic book rooms. I'm always seeing pictures online of people who take action figures and do all kinds of stuff with our bottles.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
It's hard to explain the amount of hours and sweat and blood and tears we put in to this. And then to actually have people love it, it's so exciting for us, right? We do a weekly team meeting every week. And we start off the meeting with Zach, who helped, is our marketing and sales manager, and has worked at other brands and is a lot younger than me or whatever. And every week he starts off by sharing good and bad from social media. Like what emails have we gotten? What have people said about us? What posts? And it's funny, the last year, there just has been almost no bad. Right in the beginning, there was a little bit of skepticism, like, is this, what is this, what's going on? And it has just, and our following is for a small brand like ours, that's only been on the market for 3 years, is very large, right? We have over 23,000 followers across our platforms, which I know to some that's nothing, but for us, considering the day we launched, we had 124 friends and family, and now we've grown it that far, and it grows very quickly every month. It's just, I'm just grateful. I'm just so excited. It makes me want to wake up every day and do something new and fun for those people.
Yeah.
Awesome. Final thoughts for you, Mark.
Well, I mean, being the one of the two of us that kind of discovered Filmland, on the shelves, for me, it's just it speaks to the idea that whiskey in general, but bourbons and ryes in particular, they continue to evolve. They continue to innovate, and for the guys who are always like, "Hi, I'm looking for a bottle of Blanton's." Look for something else, man.
Yeah.
Try something else. Try something new. You want your bottle of Blanton's? Fine. Go ahead and get it. You want your EH Taylor? Fine. Go ahead and get it. But but try something new. The world is not just these 5 labels. There's so many others out there, and there's such good quality. If you want the industry and the culture and the history to continue to survive, then you have to support these other labels that are coming out and doing new things like Filmland is, because you've got the awards to back it up. You have a fantastic product in the liquid in every single bottle has a story to tell, and it tells it well. In the last interview we were talking about, Stephen and I were kind of talking about the idea of time, right? And he and I are particularly kind of obsessed with books about time travel or nonfiction books that actually talk about the physics of time.
Me too.
And one of the things that we love about sitting down and sharing a glass of bourbon is that if you think about the history that's gone into it, it's got to be aged for 7 years. It's got to be finished for another 9, right? Or you've got a 12-year or a 15, whatever it is. You've literally got, it's a Jim Croce song. You've got time in a bottle.
That's right.
And one of the things that it does is it forces you in all the best ways to slow down, to reflect, to think about where you've been and where you're going. And at that time, while we're enjoying it, it forces you to live in the moment. It forces you to live in the now.
That's right.
And when we can find more ways of doing that, more innovative ways to doing that, that just makes it even better. So, thank you for doing what you do.
You're welcome. Very, very nicely said. And I'm sure you already realized that Town at the End of Tomorrow is a time travel story.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
That's why I bought it, because I saw the label. I said, I don't care if it sucks. I want this.
I'm a huge time travel nerd. I'm a massive Doctor Who nerd.
Yes.
And right, and all of that. And I'm obsessed with quantum mechanics.
Yes, us too.
Because of
That's
that.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Before I give my final thoughts, have you read Carlo Rovelli at all? Any of his books?
No.
Add him to your list. He's a theoretical physicist.
Okay.
Carlo Rovelli, Rovelli.
Okay.
It's brilliant. We've featured a couple of his books on the show.
Yeah. So he's one of the founders of the theory of quantum loop gravity,
right?
Which is one of the competing theories out there to try to become like the theory of everything,
right?
But he has a book called The Order of Time,
right?
That kind of approaches the idea of time through quantum loop gravity. He's an Italian physicist, so when he writes a book, it's very lyrical. It's always kind of related back to ancient philosophers or Italian opera. It's very great. It's very accessible. It's very easy to read, and it's fascinating stuff.
So add that to your list. For me, my final thoughts are a little bit more personal for me, and I've shared this with Mark multiple times. And I mentioned my late brother at the beginning of the show.
Yep.
And he was involved in studying film, and he passed away in 2016. But for me, Troy, it's really a personal connection that I have to the things that he was doing, to the things that you're doing, and to the things that I'm experiencing through the story that you have. So for me, it's an emotional attachment to the bourbon. I think that's important for you to know that it has brought something to me that I've missed over the past several years since I lost my brother.
You're getting me choked up here. I'm going to cry.
Well, and I don't mean to do that. I'm sorry. I don't mean to do that. But I think,
no.
I think that's a really good thing. I think for me, the podcast has been a catharsis for both Mark and I.
Yes.
From a time that was challenging for the country when we went through COVID. But also, it's brought me something that's really important to me, and I love the bourbon. You have two fans here that will continue to geek out about this bourbon, as I'm sure you have many.
Right.
But Mark shared his piece. My piece is is really something that brings back memories for me, and I really appreciate that. I don't get that in any of the other bourbons that we have.
Thank you.
I mentioned the bespoken blend, which was really important for my daughter, and
Right.
you know, the other bourbons that we have on our shelf here are really important to us. But you know, Troy, you've given me something that's important to me as a brother, and I appreciate that, and I really enjoy that, and I think when you go back to your team meetings, you know, you've touched some people around the world, and I think that's really cool. You know, I
Thank
really
you.
do. I really
I
do.
appreciate that. And
Yeah.
in a very different way, um, it's cathartic for us, specifically me, because this is not on the depth that you were just talking about, but you know, I came out when I was 22 years old, right, fresh at 2 days, graduated college in New York, came out to LA to be a screenwriter, and I got a
Yep.
chance to
Wow.
do it. And
Yep.
I did it for a couple of years, and I got some terrible movies made, and I decided to stop. Right, I decided to stop, not
Yeah.
because I didn't love to write, but I didn't love the business of Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could write a
Yep.
movie about the business of Hollywood that would be, you know, like insane. Some of the meetings
Yeah.
I've sat through and the
I'm
things that
sure.
happen
No doubt. No
and
doubt.
all of that. But I stopped, and it made me not like writing for a little while.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I sort of left it, and I just said, well, you know, it's okay. I'm never going to write the great American movie, but that's okay. And this has given me, you know, because you got to go out and work and make a living, and who has time and energy, and then you get married
Right.
and have kids, and you know,
That's
Right.
right.
and
Yep.
this has given, you know, my kids are in college now, they're grown, and this has given me a chance to like become a creative again on my own
Yes.
terms, and
Yes.
in a way where I don't need to go raise $50 million for somebody to let me, you know,
Do
or
something.
$50 million
Yeah.
for somebody to destroy my writing, right? I
Right.
can
Right.
make this what I want it to be,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's
and
fabulous.
do it with a close friend who I used to write screenplays with and all of that,
Yep.
and it's been amazing.
That's
It's
awesome.
been
That's fantastic. That's
super
fantastic.
cathartic and energizing. Yeah.
Well, we will bring our show to a close
Yeah.
with that thought. We strongly encourage you, our dear listeners, to check out Filmland Spirits. It has become one of Mark and my top bourbons in the years that we've been doing this podcast. You need to check out these bottles. You can order them online at the Filmland Spirits website. You can find them in your local liquor shops or the big box stores.
Yep.
You've got them all over the place. And we thank you for sending us the bottle for tonight's show. You know, the White Port Wolf, which was fantastic to taste this evening.
Yes.
We appreciate you being with us here tonight, Troy.
My
We
pleasure.
know you're incredibly busy, and just taking the time to be out there and let us share our story, how you've touched us with Filmland Spirits is really, really cool.
Yeah, no, this is great. And anytime, absolutely anytime.
Awesome.
I'll add,
Awesome.
we are in 19 states now, including the one you're in right now.
That's
So
amazing.
and
Congratulations. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
That's fantastic.
There's a store locator on our site, so you can find where to buy us locally in your state. Hopefully we're there. Or if we're not, we ship to a lot of different states from our site.
Fabulous.
But it's been my pleasure. And I'll come back anytime you'll have me. Would love to hear more about what you guys do and talk about some books too, because I don't just love movies.
That's awesome.
And
absolutely.
It's been great.
Let's do it. Let's plan that. Let's plan that. And for our listeners, as always, we appreciate you being here on Beards, Books, and Bourbon. It's something we love to do. You are here witnessing what Troy and his team love to do. Check us out on all our social media. We're going to be releasing this show probably in February, March, season 6. We're looking forward to it. We encourage you to check out all of the social media for Filmland Spirits, because they're going to share that as well as us.
Yep.
It's going to be fabulous. Make sure you check us out on TikTok, on X, on Facebook, on Instagram. We're all over the place.
All those places.
And thank you again to Troy for being with us here tonight. We've got a cold evening. He has a warm night.
Yes.
And it's just been fabulous to be together. And as always, no matter whether you're in a B movie or not,
Man, I wish my life was a B movie. That would make it really
sometimes I
interesting.
feel like it is. But no matter whether we're in that or not, if you're not listening to Beards, Books, and Bourbon,
You're doing it wrong.
good night, everybody.
Good night.